What's up, everybody? We're back today to do some more work on the E36 engine build. Today we won't be focusing so much on the engine itself, but on the transmission side of things. We're going to be working on the transmission swap. We're going to swap over from the getrag to a ZF. So I'll start going over the list of parts that I have ordered up, and I also got a new valve cover since the last video. I accidentally dropped the engine and cracked the valve cover pretty good, so I went to pick and pull. Ended up picking me up a new valve cover. It's just super crusty, but it was the only one they had. So we're gonna have to clean it up and paint it and make it pretty. So yeah, that's what we got planned for today. ZF transmission swap, as well as the valve cover, and we'll get the engine and transmission fully installed just to make sure we have all the right parts and components that we need for the transmission swap. And yeah, hopefully we got it all and we can call it good this week. So let me flip the camera around and we can start going over the list of parts I got. Alright, so here's some of the stuff we'll need for today. So in this box we have the clutch kit. This is a 6-puck clutch. There's also a flywheel, a pressure plate, and all the hardware that you'll need, as well as there's some pilot bearings down there and some alignment pins. So this is off of eBay. I'll put the link in the description, as well as a screenshot of what it looks like. I believe it's a stage 3 clutch kit, just some standard eBay stuff. This should be good for what we're doing and how much horsepower we're trying to make, but I guess time will tell. We also have the front half of a drive shaft. This is off a 328i. I do have the rear part of the drive shaft. It's right here. This came alongside the front part under all this stuff here, but I did measure it and it looks to be about the same as the rear part of the 325i drive shaft. So I'm going to be using this one just because it has marks on that one, as well as on this one. It's got the marks so I can align it so it's properly balanced. I don't know if it'll make that much of a difference if you just buy this part and throw it on, let's say, a 325i rear drive shaft. I don't know if you'll feel the vibrations, but since I already have both parts here, I'll just use that one, and I don't have to worry about any potential balancing issues. You can also get the E36 M3 versions. I believe the front half is the same. If you get the 3-bolt one, I believe the front is the same, but the rear is a bit beefier. I would have liked to got the M3 one, but it was just a bit too expensive for me. So hopefully this will be okay, but if we end up blowing up a drive shaft, then we'll obviously upgrade to the M3 rear half of the drive shaft. We also have a shift linkage here. This is slightly different than off the getrag. It's got this curve to it. It also has these bushings. These bushings are from Condor shift linkage bushings. You'll need those, as well as the selector rod. So you can see it's slightly bent. The one off the getrag is just a straight bar, straight piece, whereas this one is slightly bent. So these are the things you'll need. I actually purchased these new because I found used. They were about the same price as getting them new, so I thought, why not just buy some brand new ones. The drive shaft is like the most expensive part. It's like $500. I guess it's the same as a clutch. They're both pretty pricey, but what isn't, right? And you can see what I meant. This is from the getrag. This is the shift linkage. It's just a straight piece, as well as the selector rod is just straight pieces. And I believe everything else should just transfer over, like the bracket for the transmission mount itself, the bushings, and all the clutch stuff should be the same for both of these. And the shifter here, this is just an eBay shifter I bought a while back that I'm probably going to throw in to the new linkage, and I think it should transfer over. But yeah, that's pretty much everything we'll need. I believe also the The clutch slave cylinder, this should also be the same between both of them. I actually got this one out right now, but it should be the same. So what I'm thinking is we'll go ahead and we'll start tearing we'll take the engine off of the stand, and we'll start bolting everything up. We'll get the clutch on, the flywheel, the pressure plate, and then we'll start with the shift linkage stuff. Might actually do this first just to see if it fits, and then we'll get it on the engine, and we'll see if everything bolts up, and we'll get the wire harness on from there, and we can get it bolted up into the car. And if you hear any rain right now, there's like a thunderstorm outside, so it's perfect weather for working on a car inside a garage. Some ambient noises. But yeah, that should be everything we need. There's also a throttle bearing I forgot to mention that's in there, but that should be everything we need for the swap here. If there's anything else that comes up, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, let's go ahead and start putting everything onto the new transmission, swapping everything over, and then just getting that on there and getting it all bolted up. Alright, so I got everything swapped over from the getrag to ZF, all the linkage stuff and the transmission mount. And I'm already realizing that I'm missing a part. So when I bought the transmission, it didn't come with the Guibo, and neither did the drive shaft. So I ended up ordering one, and it did show up just now. So this is the new one. But when I compare it to the old one, so the old one's smaller, if you can see that. But if I compare them, the ZF one is actually slightly thinner. So I tried mounting this up with the bolts for the original Guibo, and they're just a bit too long. So I'm gonna have to reorder some bolts again and get the Guibo mounted. So that's one thing that I forgot, the Guibo and the bolts that go with it. But I think for now we'll just kind of skip this process and just focus on getting the transmission mounted to the engine for now, and I'll go ahead and order some new bolts. So let's start getting this on the engine, and we'll worry about the rest later. One thing I'm going to do before I forget is lubricate the pin for the clutch fork. So it's this bad boy, and I'm also going to lubricate the shaft here for the throwout bearing. I'm just going to be using some super lube. I was looking it up. I was trying to figure out what kind of lube people like to use, and I couldn't really find. I think a lot of people like to use the red like wheel bearing type grease. Yeah, it has a temperature range up to 450 degrees. I think it'll be alright, so we'll see. I'm just gonna put a light coat on everything. I don't want to go too crazy with the lube. Lube up the shaft here. This is some messy business right here. We'll install the clutch fork. It should pop in. And then install the throwout bearing. And now let's move on to installing the flywheel, pressure plate, and clutch. Alright, I'm back with the dying flashlight, so forgive me for that, but I managed to get everything bolted up top. just the engine mounts, and I was able to get the transmission mounts bolted up. It took a while aligning everything. It took a real long time. I was actually worried at first because it looked like the transmission mount, like the whole cross member, wasn't going to bolt up. But once I got the engine mounts on, everything else kind of lined up where it was supposed to, and I got the shifter on and all that. There was one thing I did have to switch. The selector rod there, I did have to flip that around. I don't think it was in the right place. So if you look, the bend is, pointed up. Before it was pointed down, so that's one thing I had to change. So now I'm gonna bolt up the guibo, and I'm gonna bolt up the drive shaft, and we'll see if all that fits. I think since it's probably gonna take me a while to do, it's gonna be kind of tedious. I'm just gonna cut to that part, and if all goes good, then everything will be hooked up. So alright, I'm back and I have everything bolted up. Some things to note. First of all, everything did fit up, so we're good on that. They're really hard to see. There's not much space to move around, but everything fits up. The drive shaft fits up, and yeah, so this was a good idea. This was definitely the right move. I torqued these down to 75 foot-pounds. I checked the manual and it said 74 for like 328s, and for M3s I think it was like 84 or 85, something like that. I just went for 75, and I think that'll be all right. It was pretty tight. And one thing to note, there are arrows on the guibo. It's really hard to, oh, you see the arrow right there? So the way you want to do it is you want to line it up to where they're pointed towards the bolt. So this one's pointed towards the bolt, and over there it's pointed towards the flange. I guess it's more so have them point towards the flange, not the bolt. So that's pointed towards the flange there, and up there the arrow is pointing the other way towards the transmission flange. So there's that. I also greased up. Let me move the flashlight. Oh boy, not much room here. I also greased up where the two-piece drive shaft meets up. I greased that up. And I also greased up where the drive shaft meets up with the transmission itself. There's I don't know, the output shaft, I guess, that the drive shaft fits up into. I greased that up, and I just tightened those bolts over there, just, good and tight. Same with these. And these are the only ones that I torqued down, but I think it'll be all right. So that's pretty much it for that. Everything bolts up, and we now have a ZF transmission installed. So we obviously still need a bunch more work. I still need to get all this stuff put back together, exhaust, a lot of more stuff, but I'm just glad that everything with the transmission, the new ZF transmission, fits up and bolts up. And now that we have the new transmission in, I think for the rest of this video we'll focus on the valve cover, the one that I broke. So I think we can go ahead and start cleaning it, and we can get it painted and installed in the engine. So let's move on to that. So it was somewhere around here where I started realizing that a brush and a die grinder just wasn't going to be enough to get off all the gunk and grease. Brake clean wasn't going to do it either, so I decided I'd go to Harbor Freight and pick up a parts washer. It's something I've wanted for a while, and this is just an excuse for me to buy it. They're not too expensive. I think it was like 120 bucks. And I also ended up making a couple mods to it. I ended up, there's a shelf that goes right beneath the big tub there in the middle. I ended up putting that on the bottom and putting a roller. They also sell the roller. It's like a furniture roller underneath it, and I bolted it all down just so I could move it around the shop. And I also filled it with Totally Awesome. It's some kind of solvent, and I can confirm it is totally awesome. I did it 5 to 1, 5 parts water to 1 part of that Totally Awesome stuff. But you could use anything. You could use like Purple Power. You can use whatever it is that you want to use. And then I ended up cleaning it up, and it actually did a pretty good job removing all the gunk and stuff. You'll see in a bit once I go to paint it all that it's pretty clean, and yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. But that's how we ended up getting the valve cover clean. Alright, so I finished up cleaning up the valve cover. Took quite a bit of scrubbing. The new parts washer did a pretty good job of getting all the gunk off. I did take a little bit of elbow grease, but you know, that's fine. It's nice to have that finally. So here's the cleaned up valve cover. As you can see, there's still this this stuff on it. I don't know what exactly it is. It could be just the old paint that got chipped off. The other valve cover I had the same thing going on with this stuff here, same color and everything. So I'm just going to paint over it. I'm not too worried about getting it perfect. I just wanted to get everything clean, and this is what I'm excited about. The inside got scrubbed down, and now it's super clean from before, where it was just gunked up with all that carbon buildup and I don't even know what. So it's looking pretty clean now. So I'm just going to paint everything. I got a heater over there blowing warm air onto this, so hopefully it'll kind of speed up the painting process. But yeah, let's get to painting this thing. Alright, so we have the new valve cover painted. It was cleaned up and painted. Now it's installed and it's looking good from a distance. That's all that matters for me, honestly. So yeah, we rectified the broken valve cover that I accidentally dropped, and we also installed the ZF transmission with everything that you need to do that. I won't know how the fitment is exactly until we go and drive it. Everything looks like it should be working good. So I think that'll do it for today's video. We got the valve cover done, the transmission done. We got a new parts washer to clean it all up. So I'm kind of excited about that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And yeah, we'll see where we go in the next part. I still don't know yet where I want to take it. It's probably going to be a lot of small stuff, or I'll just cover all the new stuff that I got for the engine. Because a lot of this is just monotonous, tedious stuff where I'm just kind of putting everything back together. But yeah, I think that'll do it for this part. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.